So there are 3 projects happening in the Fort Worth area, and one of them has been going on for 20 years, and everybody thought that it was not even going to happen because it was kind of on the back burner now. We were all told that all this money was going to be spent and this was going to happen, and it hasn't happened yet. So one of the projects that you may or may not have heard of if you're looking and researching Fort Worth is the Panther Island project. So Panther Island project, it was going to be a massive redevelopment project north of downtown Fort Worth, right outside of downtown. And it was really originally designed for flood control. And it wasn't just going to be a fancy area, there was going to be a reason for it, flood control for the city. The new Trinity River was going to have a bypass channel, and it was going to create an actual island. And on this island, the planned features were waterfront development, mixed-use buildings, trails, restaurants, entertainment, and urban housing. And we saw some beautiful renderings of this, and we've been hearing about this for about 20 years. And the Trinity River Water District, was a big part of this, and management has changed with it. Different things have happened, and so it was going to be a beautiful project. So what has happened since? It was kind of put on the back burner. A lot of people thought that it was never going to happen. It was discussed for 20 years, delays, we had rising costs. The bridges were being built before the channels. So we do have some bridges built, but they're kind of going into still a light industrial area on the north side of Fort Worth. Then what happened was a turning point. Recently, federal infrastructure funding arrived. So hundreds of millions of dollars have been secured, and major construction phases are now moving forward. So the difference now is that it has momentum behind it, and we actually think it's actually going to happen. So what's happening right now? Utility relocation is happening, sewer infrastructure, canal bridge work is happening, the bypass channel excavation is beginning, developer recruitment is increasing. So this is shifting from a concept to actual infrastructure. Pretty amazing. So how does this affect real estate? How does this affect an average buyer or seller? Especially a buyer, because that's where a lot of you guys are finding me, is you're looking to move to Fort Worth, you're trying to check out and research Fort Worth. So when major development happens, it's called a halo effect. And so major development increases the desirability and value of a nearby area. So as this big project actually gets underway, it's going to have a halo effect coming out from it for real estate. You've got to think really about this, for yourself. If this is something where you're looking at a quick buy and a sell in a few short years, this may not be the area that you want to buy in because you are paying for future expectations. I had a real estate agent friend of mine call it being an urban pioneer. You got to see it before it actually comes to fruition. So this is a longer term project. I believe down all the way into 2052 or 54. So they're starting 2026, 27. They're starting some of it, but it's going to be a long project. So you've got to think long term if you want to jump into this area and buy in this area. Investors usually move early because they see the vision. The walkability and the waterfront development will create premier pricing, definitely premium pricing. And it's very, very, like I said, very, very close to downtown. So it's going to be a premier urban development when it actually gets off the ground, no doubt about it. So what areas are going to benefit with this halo effect? Okay, so near North Side real estate, Main in the North Main corridor. Right now there's a lot of light industrial in that area. There have been some breweries that have moved in that area. We did have the Fort Worth Cats. We had a minor league baseball team that had a stadium out there. We had a theater out there. I think it was called the Coyote, something like that. And so all of that area is going to change. The River District, so that's an area that I grew up calling River Oaks. So now it's been relabeled the River District, and it is a premier high-end real estate area along the Trinity River. So that's definitely going to benefit from this halo effect of Panther Island actually getting off the ground, and of course downtown. And one of the things I can say about that area of downtown, living in downtown and north, they need a grocery store. I know this is kind of a random, this is something I've noticed. The closest grocery store is on 7th Street, Montgomery Plaza. It's outside, it's on the west side, right outside of downtown. But if they're going to do all this development going north, they're gonna have to bring in retailers like that, groceries and things like that, because people they're having to go out to get those basics that they need if they live in the downtown-ish area. So what kind of appreciation potential could you have? So they're saying 40 to 60% increase in some surrounding areas already. Comparable urban development projects like this that saw this kind of growth were Clyde Warren Park, which is downtown Dallas. What they did there is there's a section in between I-35 and 75 that was called Woodall-Rogers, and it connected both of those major roads. So they actually, I don't know what you call it, they covered it up, they made it a park on the top, okay, and then now the road goes underneath it. So that's Clyde Warren Park. It's a destination, it's an entertainment area. The Pearl in San Antonio, and then Deep Ellum Transformation. That has been a big one in Dallas. But nobody can guarantee future appreciation. Real estate markets are always in cycles. Just understand, no one can guarantee how much appreciation you're going to have. That will all depend on the markets. It will all depend on what actually happens. So the biggest gains in real estate often happen after the project is fully completed. But if you want to be a first mover and gain the most appreciation, you have to take some risk. And that's really, really up to you if you're ready to do that. Here's an example of that. Just recently with one of my clients, they are looking for land in a certain area, and it's pretty expensive. They're looking to build. They don't need to build right now, but they want to secure the land. So we were looking in the area, and I was over on Saturday at their house, and they said, well, what about this lot? I looked at the map, and I said, I know exactly where that is. I said, it is surrounded by high dollar real estate, probably million plus homes. But this little pocket, it was one little loop of a street, and it had a mixture of like mobile homes and older homes, but it was in one of the best school districts in this area, in Keller ISD. So when they showed me that address, I went, I know exactly where that is, and I'm gonna go by there and check it out. So what I found in that little pocket was already some of it had been turned over. So some of the people that had mobile homes had sold out, mobile homes had been cleared, builders were coming in and building nice homes, $600,000, $700,000 homes on the land that previously had a mobile home. So right now you've got a mixture of mobile homes and nice homes. So if you can see past the existing mobile homes and be an urban pioneer and realize that little loop is going to turn over in time, and it's going to become very valuable because of where it is, the location and the school district. And so my clients are like, yeah, we can see it. So our next step is to secure the land, make sure it's at a good price, put in an offer and buy it. And then they're going to buy and hold until they're ready to build. So that's an example of seeing a vision and realizing, okay, yeah, I want to go for it. Or, you know what, I don't know if I'm that risky. I may wait until everything's more built out, and then I'll buy when I know it's more of a guaranteed thing. So that's an example right there in my own business right now happening with clients. Who could benefit from the Panther Island project the most? Well, young professionals that are going to work downtown. You've got urban lifestyle people that lock and leave lifestyle. They don't want the acre out in Aledo. They want a very easy lifestyle, lock and leave. Mixed use opportunities. You've got commercial, definitely a lot of commercial. And then for people who want to sell near that area, if you have a home that is near this area, just keep holding on to it until you're ready, because somebody's going to want that property. It's going to be very valuable. I can think of north side, a lot of the older homes that are near downtown that are on the north side, that they're going to increase in value, and those people can just sit there and increase the value until they're ready to sell. So what is my personal opinion about the Panther Island project? If it does actually come to fruition, it is going to change Fort Worth's reputation and make it iconic, I think. It's going to bring us up to a level that we probably haven't seen before. It's going to raise values all over not just in the Panther Island project area, but I think it's going to help all of our values appreciate. I think it can be a good thing. I'm still skeptical because we've been waiting for 20 years for this to happen. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if it happens. Okay. That's my personal take. So would you buy near something like this? Leave me a comment and let me know if you're more attracted to the urban lifestyle. And by the way, I help people buy and sell in this area, and I've helped tons of people find homes in the outer areas and also in the urban areas of Fort Worth and in Dallas. I do drive over to Dallas here and there. I have been on that other side of town, but I focus mainly on Fort Worth because this is where I grew up. This is where I know, and I have a lot of knowledge to share. I have a lot of experience to give buyers and also sellers if you're looking to sell. So let me know. Details are below of how to contact me. I'm Elizabeth Oliva, and this is the Fort Worth Home Tours. So tell me what you think. Would you want to buy in an area like this once it gets up and running, or maybe before? Maybe you want to buy something and hold it and wait for it to appreciate in value and then sell it. I don't know. The second big project, which I have done a lot of videos about this community, you guys probably know that, Walsh Ranch. But did you know that the state of Texas is literally rebuilding the highway system around it right now? I don't know if you knew that, but that's actually what's happening. So massive interstate expansion is happening. If you've driven over that way, you probably know because traffic is kind of bad right there at the I-3820 interchange all the way out to Walsh Ranch Parkway. That area is pretty congested because they're doing tons of work out there. Future commercial districts are going to come in, millions of square feet of development, a long-term plan that will transform the west side of Fort Worth, no doubt. First thing is the roads. We have got to get that done. We have so many people moving out that way into Walsh Ranch that it's going to be bad if we don't. But they're getting it done. There's talk about that they are going to do a toll in that section as well. So we'll see if they do that. I think some people would appreciate that, and that would help get into Fort Worth. I mean, on a good day when there's not congestion or construction right there, from Walsh you can get to downtown in like maybe 20 minutes, maybe 25 at the most. So it's really not a bad drive if you're going to go to downtown Fort Worth, if you're going to Lockheed Martin, if you're going to the Joint Reserve, if those are some of the places that you go into work. It's actually not a bad drive at all. And when they get it complete, it's going to be amazing. So let's talk about the basics about Walsh Ranch. So at the full build out, it's going to be 15,000 homes. It's 7,200 acres that they can develop. A population of about 50,000 residents. Okay, so for example, I grew up in Weatherford, and our population when I was growing up was 30,000 of the town of Weatherford. So this is huge. They're going to have office space, retail, apartments, hotels, trails. They already have trails, parks, even in future employment centers such as UTA is building a campus out there. Worthington Bank is building, it's right south of I-20. Worthington Bank is going in. UTA campus, I think for 8,000 students is going in. There's apartments already over there. Cook Children's is already over there. It's going to be a new city, basically on the edge of the western side of Fort Worth, all to its own. And they're really just now getting started. That's the crazy part. They really have not developed very much of it at all. They are doing expansions on the highway. I know this because I live right there. So let's talk about the TxDOT, the transportation going on right now. So they are currently rebuilding and expanding major portions of I-20 and I-30. I-30 is the section that goes straight into Walsh Parkway. I-20 goes, what direction would that be? Southwest from Benbrook, I guess you would call it that. And the project is called Keep 2030 Moving. So I-20, I-30 moving, which is what we need to do. And if you drive through there, they're going to be widening interstate lanes, redesigning interchanges, expanding the frontage roads, rebuilding ramps. I'm seeing all of this in real time because I live right there, and improving traffic flow around Walsh Ranch Parkway and FM 1187. So FM 1187, that highway, is the one that goes into the little town of Aledo, and it's being built up with commercial and different things. The north side of that, north of I-20, is called 3325. So different name, but basically the same road. And that's pretty much on the western perimeter of Walsh Ranch. Okay. Walsh Ranch Parkway, the interchange right there is going to change dramatically in the next few years. Millions of square feet of commercial space is coming in. Retail districts, future office, major population growth. They just opened up new phases of Walsh. So phase 5 and 6, I think, is just opened up for the builders. And HEB is going in right now. They've started construction on that. I was by there just a few days ago. And it's on the southwest corner of Walsh Ranch. So if you build or buy in Walsh Ranch, you could ride your golf cart over to HEB. I think that's pretty amazing. So they're not just, TxDOT is not just spending this money for no reason at all. They're designing highway infrastructure for future density. Thank goodness. I mean, I can tell you, growing up in this area, I don't recall a time when they have not been working on the roads. And that's probably because we have experienced massive growth in population for years, for many, many years. So the roads have to keep up. This is what I don't understand. Maybe some of you can leave me a comment if you understand this. When they do an expansion on a highway, why do they only do one lane? Why did they not do 2 or 3? They know the population is coming. Why don't they just go ahead and do 3 at a time instead of 1 at a time? And we could just, cut our being on a construction time a lot shorter if we just do it all at once. Does anybody know why they do that? I don't know why they do that. So lots of commercial growth coming into that area. HED. And luxury apartments, Modera Walsh is coming in. There's going to be a 55 plus community inside of Walsh. That's coming in on the east side of Walsh Parkway. And they're also going to have another Klein Park. So Klein Park is the custom lots for Walsh. So these are the probably half acre or so, easily $1 million, $2 million, $3 million homes in Klein Park. They're going to have another one of those on the east side of Walsh. So why does all this growth matter for a homeowner? Historically, when you see major highway expansion, infrastructure investment, employment growth, large-scale commercial, it often creates long-term appreciation pressure, okay? So this appreciation, we've seen this before in areas like Alliance, which I'm going to talk about next, and North Fort Worth, and early stages of Frisco. Everybody knows you may not know what has happened to Frisco, but easily just an explosion of growth in Frisco. And I don't think you can buy a house in Frisco for under $1 million. It's crazy. But nobody can guarantee that Walsh is going to become something like that. But there are signs that it could, definitely. I hope it doesn't get crazy like that. I love my west side of Fort Worth, and I love that it's not too crazy busy. It's a little more quiet and laid back. So I'm hoping that it'll keep some of that same culture. And I know Aledo as a town is, in Parker County is trying to keep things that way as well, where it's more of a low-key bedroom community of single-family homes and families and lifestyle like that. They've wanted it to be like that, and so I hope it continues like that. So, what is the downside of all this growth? Traffic patterns are changing. Ramps are moving. Congestion can be frustrating. If you can work flex hours, try to do that. If you have to go into downtown, see if you can work, 7 to 4 or 7 to 3 or one of those other hours. Instead of just the regular 8 to 5 or 9 to 5. That's when everyone is coming out of downtown Fort Worth. Between 4 and 5, I would say right at Hewlin and I-30 all the way to, Walsh, gets pretty congested, pretty slowed down between 4 and 5 typically. And then it lightens up. But if you're coming from a really big major metropolitan area, our traffic probably doesn't hold a candle to anything that you've experienced. If you're coming from somewhere like LA or New York or, Chicago, you probably are laughing at us talking about or complaining about traffic. It's probably no big deal, right? So Walsh is becoming just a much bigger neighborhood overall, and it's going to continue to expand and have more services. Highway expansion, commercial growth, future retail, the university, the hospital, the Cook Children's, the bank, commercial, it's becoming its own center, its own area. It's going to be a major growth corridor for Dallas Fort Worth. People are going to take more notice of Fort Worth if they haven't already. So what do you think? I mean, what do you think about this growth? Have you been considering Walsh? And does this change your mind about that because of all the growth? I think once they get everything in place, especially the roads, once they get the roads in place, Walsh is an amazing community with all kinds of amenities and activities. It's just brimming with activities and kids and families and lots of stuff going on every single day. So if you want that kind of community, if you want lots of activities and lots of busyness, and you want to take your golf cart over to meet your friends and that kind of thing, Walsh would be the right community for you. I have some people who they think Walsh is too busy, it's too much. And that's okay. They want something more laid back and quiet, and they can find that on the west side. I can help you find it. By the way, did I mention that I can help you find that? And I love helping people find that home that they love over here in the Fort Worth area. So that's Walsh. Let me know. Let me know if that is an area that you're looking at, that you would like to know more about. And if you want to talk more about what's happening over there, definitely reach out to me. Details are below of how to do that. And don't forget, if you haven't already, to subscribe. And if you're a returning viewer, I love you guys. Thank you so much for coming back and watching. Some of you have watched every single video I've put out, and that just blows me away. And you put me on the big screen. So that really blows me away. I appreciate all of you, and I hope to see you again on another video. So we're not done. We still have one more area to talk about. Okay, so the next area we're going to talk about is the Alliance Corridor. I have done a bunch of videos on communities up that way. So if you watch my videos, you already know there's a lot of growth for communities, for new build communities up there in the Alliance Corridor. And some of you, if you've been around this area, you may think Alliance is just warehouses and trucks and railroads and things like that, but it's much more than that, what is happening. So I'm going to break it down and tell you why this is a huge project and how it matters. It is transforming into an economic boom zone in the country. AI supercomputers, billion-dollar manufacturing jobs, massive data centers, autonomous vehicle technology going on up there, film studios, believe it or not, film studios, highway expansion, and tens and thousands of new homes, which I've got a lot of videos on all the homes that are going on up there. Even more, right above there, my newest videos on Landmark, which is right up the road from the Alliance Corridor. There's a lot of shopping and conveniences right near the Alliance Corridor as well. So why are they pouring billions into this area? What does this mean for real estate? So let's talk about it. Okay, so the facts about Alliance, it's a development by Hillwood, which a lot of my videos are residential communities by Hillwood, but this is a massive 27,000 acre commercial industrial development by Hillwood. It was famous for logistics and industrial development because it's right at Interstate 35. It's got rail access, it's got an inland port, and it's got an airport. So like FedEx, UPS, they fly out of Alliance. And so it became a major hub for commercial activity, but now it's moving beyond that. So AI infrastructure is happening there, advanced manufacturing, technology, innovation is happening. Most people have no idea how big this is coming, how big this is becoming for DFW. I know I didn't before I actually researched this. So what are some of the things happening up there at Alliance? So you've got Meta already operates a hyperscale data center, but now we got a Taiwan-based company coming in, $700 million project for AI supercomputing. That is huge. Why is it big? Because Alliance has access to power, fiber internet structure, transportation access, large amounts of available land. There's a bunch of land up there in the north side of Fort Worth for sure. So billion-dollar manufacturing growth is happening up there. Robotics, electric vehicles, defense technology, a bunch of stuff happening. There we're going to have highway and infrastructure expansion, which if you are looking to live in that area, you're kind of looking at researching that area, very important, okay? I can tell you it's pretty smooth right now, but it does get clogged up as you get towards Alliance and Basswood and North Tarrant Parkway. Those are some of the cross streets with I-35 where you hit traffic when you're coming through the I-35 corridor. I know because I've done it a lot. So they're going to expand I-35. They're going to expand Highway 170. So 170 is right there at that Alliance corridor going into and connecting with South Lake, West Lake, the tech corridor. So they're going to expand that. New connector roads, freight mobility upgrades. Traffic is intense right now. I can tell you that because I've been on it a lot as I help people look for homes and as I'm doing videos up in that area. And then the film studio surprise, Taylor Sheridan, Yellowstone landman, that guy that's just exploded. And he's from little old Fort Worth. It's so crazy. Oh, little side note. So specifically where I grew up, in between Weatherford and Crescent on a highway called 171, they actually filmed on the road where I grew up. They actually were filming down that way. And the reason they are filming down that way is there's less light pollution and it's beautiful rolling hills. And so the topography is exactly what they were looking for certain shots or certain series or whatever they're doing. But right where I grew up, they've been filming. But they have a film studio up at Alliance. It's creating jobs, hospitality demand, restaurants, hotels, economic growth because of the Fort Worth film industry. And, we could probably talk about why is that happening in Fort Worth? Well, for him, it is the type of landscape that he wants, I guess, for his movies. Honestly, I haven't watched them. I know, leave a comment if you think that's crazy that I haven't watched any of the movies, but stuff is going on right around where I live, for sure. So what does this mean for real estate? I know that's the bottom line, for any of you watching right now. Why am I telling you all this? What does this mean? It means major employment growth. You may be researching this because you're moving here because of this growth. Maybe your job is moving here. Infrastructure investment, corporate expansions, and housing demand follows. So you have jobs. That's one of the things you learn in real estate, which is a huge driver for real estate, is jobs. Where are the jobs? And people are going to move to where the jobs are. And right now, in the Alliance corridor, that the areas, the towns or cities and municipalities that people are looking at to live in, Haslett, North Lake, Justin, Roanoke, Argyle, Northwest Fort Worth, Northwest ISD, Argyle ISD, those are areas that if you are about to move here to work at the Alliance corridor, those are the areas you're probably looking at to live in. I've done a lot of videos on a lot of those. And you've probably seen my videos on Pecan Square, Wildflower, Harvest, Treeline, Timberbrook, and now Landmark. So I've done videos on all of those areas and some beautiful master plan communities that you can look at. And there's some other areas that, maybe they're not in a master plan community, but they're up in the area of the Alliance corridor that you may want to check out. And by the way, if I haven't mentioned before, I help people do that. I definitely do. And I love helping people. I love the hunt, actually. I love helping people tour new homes and tour existing homes, and you never know what you're going to find. And it's a lot of fun. And then matching what they're looking for with the perfect house and finding it. You're never going to find the perfect house unless you build it. But if you're looking for a home, most of the time, if it checks most of your boxes, it's probably, a good fit. And it's just got to feel like home, and I tell people that too. You may want to walk in the home and just take a minute and see if it feels like home. Walk outside, and do you hear highway noise? Do you hear airplane noise? Do you care? The things that you care about, keep that in mind when you're looking at that house. How close is it to the school or far? How close or far to the grocery store? Do you mind driving 10, 15 minutes? Or do you want it to be 5? All very important questions. So that's what I help people think about and go over when they're looking for their home, their next home, or their dream home, or their forever home, which most of the time they say it's their forever home, but it doesn't end up being their forever home. Found that to be true. Just know that going in. So obviously growth can also create challenges. So you got the traffic, our water supply. What's going to happen with all these data centers? Are we going to have an issue with our water? And I actually was having a conversation with a client who said they've lived in the Northern Virginia area or Virginia. And they said basically it may not be a problem because they reuse the water. They cool it, put it underneath the ground, and then they use it again. So I wasn't educated on this and didn't realize that continuously pulling water out of our system, but they may not be the data centers. But still, we may have a water issue. That's something here in Texas that we definitely have to address and make sure that we are handling how much water we need, our water supply with our growth. Schools, crowding, rising home prices, yes, those are challenges. But long-term economically, Alliance is positioning itself to be one of the most important growth corridors. And if you are looking at long-term appreciation, that definitely is going to be a corridor that you may want to look at. It has a whole different feel than the West Side. It has easier access to Dallas. So if you are North Dallas, so if you are working possibly closer to Dallas or North Dallas, you may want to consider the Alliance corridor or up that direction. And of course, if you're working at Alliance, you want to consider Justin, Haslett, North Lake, those areas. And Landmark is the newest master plan community that you might want to look at because it's going to be amazing. It's going to have everything, including an HEB. Including an HEB. So what do you think about these three areas? So we talked about the Panther Island project. We talked about Walsh and what all is going to be happening there. And we talked about Alliance Corridor. Which area would you be more interested in? Leave me a comment below and let me know. And I hope this was helpful, getting this information and understanding a little bit more about what's going on in Fort Worth and how it could affect you if you're looking to buy here, if you already have bought here, and or you are needing to sell here. I can help you with all of that. So this is Elizabeth Oliva. This is the Fort Worth Home Tours. And if I can help you, please reach out to me. Details are below of how to do that. And until next time, and when you come to town, I hope to show you around.